Hello, this is Jim Pateo. Today we'll take a look at an event that took place June 9th, 2024 at the Detroit Yacht Club. Tom D'Eath had taken a burgee that he had on board his winning Miss Budweiser in 1990 at the 82nd Gold Cup. There's a picture of him holding up that burgee, and Tom had this picture and the burgee framed and presented it to the Detroit Yacht Club folks on that day, June 9th. Tom also goes into detail talking about a situation where his father Al ran a boat into the Belle Isle Bridge during a race, and then also discusses a tragic incident with Ed Barco driving the Moonshine Baby in 1960. Here you go.
And Tom McGinnis and Jim Scheibel and the rest of the people that helped out that year was phenomenal. There was really 5 people that did this.
Yeah, I'm just amazed at with the members we have here and the appreciation in the Detroit area, the bedrocks of the world that we should be putting this together.
When I got the call, I didn't have an office. I had a flip phone. Seriously, I didn't know the commanding officer at the Coast Guard where I needed to get a permit 135 days in advance. When I walked in there that morning, early in the morning, remember this is after 2000, 9/11. There's razor wire and big, still there. And I'm knocking on the gate, there's a little box there with a push the button. And I had one business card with me, says I was the category chairman for the American Powerboat Association for Vintage and Historic. So I pushed the button. This is like 7 o'clock. I drove all night, so different shirt, pushed the button. And a voice comes over from the day officer, "Can I help you?" And I says, "Yes, my name's Tom D'Eath. I'm with APBA. I'm here to see the commander." "Oh, you mean Commander Bradbury?" I said, "Yeah, that's him." I mean, we're talking BS all the way in the gate. He chewed my butt out like you can't believe. "Who the hell do you think you are? You know it takes 130. What weekend do you want?" I said, "Well, it'd be nice if I could get Labor Day week." "You know how busy we are on Labor Day weekend." When I left there, him and I were best friends. And not only did I have the permit, I had 2 dates, August and Labor Day weekend. And that was so important, there was no point in going anywhere else unless you had the permit. Then the rest of it started snowballing. Ed Broadbear from Chrysler Financial, Jim Scheibel with the president of Chrysler Jeep Superstores. "What the hell do you think we want to get involved with you for? We don't want to be involved with anybody that's going to go bankrupt." I was thinking a 1-year deal, but when they made the proposal of what I had to do, I said, let me think a minute. That's where the Miller Brewing stuff came in handy, because they told me how to stall. I went to media school. They told me how to stall and get the wheels going and think. And I said, basically, okay, but if I'm going to do that for you, you got to do something for me. And they were like, "What?" I says, "I need a 3-year deal." "Why?" I says, "Well, if I do what you want me to do, I need that extra 2 years to recoup that money, because there's probably no way we're going to make money this first year." And so they all went in the corner and powwowed, and they came back and they said, "Okay, we got a deal." I got $125,000 from Ed Broadbear at Chrysler Financial. This all happened the same day. The permit with Commander Bradbury and the interview at Chrysler Financial and Chrysler Jeep Superstores. And he had hand throttles. So the theory was, when you get to, if you ever driven a twin screw boat, you give gas to the outboard side and it'll push the boat that way, and if you give gas to the other side, it'll push it that way. And you could do a little bit of steering with your feet, but your hands were on the throttles for each motor, so you could decelerate or accelerate. Well, that worked out so great, he hit the bridge. So, and then of course at Keens, they tried to fix it between heats, but they never really did get it fixed, and it never raced again. And I have newspaper articles all about it, who the sponsor was and all that kind of stuff. So, but that's kind of an infamous part of the D'Eath boat racing family legend.
Was it a event?
So I'm getting closer, and all of a sudden I see the orange helmet, but not looking at me, okay? I see this orange helmet, and all of a sudden, I'm like the first one there. I'm 16 years old. And this body turns around and looks at me and is hollering, but he's got a bubble shield on. It's all foam, you know. You couldn't see because it was all moisture inside and fogged up. But he's definitely hollering. And I'm coasting to a stop toward him. And he starts to wave to me, and he doesn't have, this is hanging on by skin. The wrist is gone. The hand is gone. And I'm kind of a 16-year-old in disbelief. At the same time, Chuck Thompson and Ed Morgan are coming at me, rooster tails flying on my side of the river. I wasn't on the wrong side. Ed Morgan shuts his boat off, and he makes a dead run down the deck of the Caduceus Wild. So they must have known what happened. I didn't. I was so far back.
Yeah.
Ed Morgan dove in the water, swam over to him, and came up from behind him and grabbed what was left of his right arm, you know, and held onto it really tight. When I could see that Chuck, there was no rescue boats then, you know, there was no Stokes litter or anything like that. Back in those days, if there was an accident and it was a bad one, everybody in the pits lined up to the accident. They made a human chain. And so when the boat come in at the river's edge, you know, the damaged person would be put on the Stokes litter and hauled up to the ambulance. So I thought the best use of my time, because those guys knew what they were doing. They were in the water helping them. Chuck was still on his boat, but Morgan was in there helping him. So I started mine up and chugged across the river to the pit area. My dad met me right away. Of course, my eyes are black and blue, and they're all red and stinging from Joe Albee chopping me. And I told my dad, as quietly as I could, we need to get the human chain going, Dad, because we got a really bad injury. He lost his arm. Well, Kay Barco was standing right there, and she lost it. I mean, she just really went into hysterics. She heard what I was telling my father. But they formed the human chain. Ed Morgan and Chuck Thompson somehow or another slid Ed Barco on the deck of the Chuck wagon. And they putted across the river. There was steam coming out of Chuck Thompson's water outlets because he was going so slow. But there was blood all over the place, and Ed Morgan is on the deck holding onto his arm, and they get him off, and the rest is history. You know, Ed Barco came back to race again. On the way home, my father told me, Tom, do you sure you want to do this? Because they canceled the race after that. So that was my introduction into inboard racing. What would you be your guess?
The Joe Ritchie Spirit of America, because you made a hell of a start and you lost that race because the motor
Ran out of nitrous.
Oh, that was one of the best starts
It's
ever.
no wonder Chip won a lot of races in that. It was the Atlas Fan Lines.
Yeah.
So Chip won the Gold Cup in '82.
Yep.
Of course, they were all running turbines. So that year, Style ended up buying the whole kit and caboodle from Atlas, the Merlins and the gearboxes and the, you know, the whole bailiwick. And that was the boat painted up as Squire Shop.
Yep.
It was the most fun boat to drive. Why?
Yeah.
Because you had to be able to walk and chew gum and hit nitrous oxide and watch the manifold pressure gauge and do all kinds of stuff, otherwise you weren't going anywhere. And
Awesome.
it was a sweet running boat, had no bad habits. Like the Gone Heavy in a limited class hydroplane was the best inboard hydroplane I ever drove in my life, the Gone Heavy, that I won 2 Gold Cups in Canada. Beat his father, which was a 7-liter. And we beat him like a red-headed stepchild. And we did it with smarts. When Ronnie and I went to the Prince Edward Gold Cup in 1976, we looked at the course and it said 1 2/3, not approved for records. Ronnie and I and crew, David Irwin, we looked down at the course and I says, Ronnie, that don't look like a 1 2/3 course to me. Does it to you? We had 1 propeller, 1 gearbox, 1 engine, 1 boat, 1 driver, period. All the other teams had motors lined up just like, you know, Grand Prix stuff. And so Ronnie and David Irwin and I, we noodled and we said, you know something? We're 6% overdrive. Let's take the gearbox apart. We got lots of time. Let's do 6% underdrive. We need to lead everybody up to the clock, our only chance. And it's not a 1 2/3 course by any stretch. And we need to beat him in the first turn, and then we control the race course. And that's how we did it. With a 302 Chevrolet And we floated the valves 3 times on the straightaway because the fuel in the fuel injection stacks hit me in the face.
Yeah.
It went, hit me, hit me, hit halfway down the straightaway to the 3/4 point, back off of the corner, and I could hear him, roar, roar. You know, Les Brown and Bill Hodge trying to catch me. We won the race, and Les protested his son. There's no way that boat could beat me. And he protested his own son, said you had to have a bigger motor in her 302 cubic inches. And they pulled it apart, sure enough, it was David Irwin's, not even a great 302 Chevrolet. And now I can see it's the needle's starting to quiver back below toward 110 inches. Now I'm just touching it, and then I can feel the motor going. Finally, I'm just laying on it now, and the manifold pressure is dropping. And we're freewheeling down the straightaway, and I'm running right with the turbines. You know, but it was a fun boat to drive because of that. Turbine boats, you just kind of matted it and screwed it down, and it was faster. The turbines were faster, but not much fun to drive, in my opinion. Yes.
One of the best heats I ever saw was the spin and win that we talked about.
Oh, yeah.
I think they'd like to hear that.
Yeah. The spin and win happened right here, 74. I really should have won this race in 74, 5, and 6. 74, the Miss US was new. And the primary runners were just a little, I questioned it, they were a little bit on the narrow side, I thought. But I had no idea. I didn't see anybody in front of them. What I didn't know is the Pay and Pack and the Budweiser, I think, were in front of them. I think it was those two. Anyway, so when I get up to those guys, I'm outside and I pass them. I'm going, holy crap, there's first and second, I can get them too. So I took off and I got those guys too, and I came around, and so it was a spin and win, won the heat. But that's kind of and then the final, I won the next heat too in my 2A, 2, whatever it is. And so in the final, we have our better motor. So Jim Kurth, we changed engines, put the good motor in for the final. We're like thinking maybe we're going to win our first race, you know. So they trailer fire it, everything is fine. Put it in the water. I come out of the truck with all my gear on, fire the 5-minute gun. The gas pedal will not move. It's frozen. What had happened is the Morse cable that ran the fuel injection throttle body somehow or another got laid near the turbo. They get extremely hot, and it melted it and it seized it. So even though it was hooked up to the gas pedal and hooked up to the engine, during trailer firing it worked fine before it got launched, but sitting there getting cooked, it seized. So we never left the dock. Oh boy, would be able to do that and save the Gold Cup races in Detroit.
The golden ride, right?
There is a man upstairs and a guardian angel that makes it happen.
And this is Jim Pateo. Thanks for watching Prop Shaft. See you on the next episode.